Good morning.
Good morning, David Lee Scales, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same to you. How was it?
That was great. How was yours?
Fantastic.
Did little baby Austin put on a show? Did he enjoy the festivities?
I got to show you the video. Actually, it's so worth showing.
Oh yeah.
I hate being that guy who has to show you a visual representation of their kid anytime the conversation of a child comes up.
That's what happens.
But
all parents do it, man.
It is what happens. Here's him seeing Santa. Can you see that?
Yeah. Oh, you got a good Santa. He is not a fan. Where's that joy?
He is definitely not a fan. No, that is crying his eyes out.
I love when the line between like a child's most joyful moment and most terrified moment is basically 1 centimeter apart.
They both include tears. They both include a mouth agape.
Mouth agape, wild like movement. Did he get used to Santa at the end? That was a good Santa. Who played Santa in your home?
Santa himself, He came down from the North Pole. He was at everybody's houses and he stopped by ours.
That's pretty great. What did you feed? What did you feed Santa?
What's that?
What did you feed Santa?
Beef Wellington, as it turns out, with no mushrooms. So the thing is, Austin loves Santa in every other iteration leading up to Christmas. All the lawn ornaments, all the little figurines in the books, on TV, everything.
Cartoons.
Yeah. And then he enters the home and that scream, he let out the scream and then he inhaled for 10 seconds. I mean, if you watch the video, you could do a full 10 count, 10 Mississippis until he then releases another breath of air.
Did Santa vacate, or did Santa try to get in Austin's good graces?
No, he exited the room. Austin didn't calm down for 20 minutes. I had to take him outside, put him in a stroller, go through the neighborhood, point at snowmen on people's lawns, stuff like that to calm him down.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, welcome to life, Austin.
Mm-hmm. Having a video makes it all worthwhile, though,
Yeah, it's true.
Did you get anything good for Christmas?
I sure did. I made out like a bandit this Christmas.
I think you did last year, too.
Did I? What did I get last year?
I don't remember, but I feel like you used that exact phrase.
Yeah, I got a wonderful pair of Comme des Garçons pants, a new pair of pants. It's great. I got a couple pairs of pants, some running shorts. Yeah.
Wow.
That was pretty much it. It was good.
Entering the short game now.
Well, I mean, so my running short has long been, ever since, thanks to Whoop, I began my secondary career as a runner. I run in cutoff corduroys. So I get much made fun of around the home. So everybody thought, oh, Christmas is a good time to get him a proper pair of running shorts. What brand are they? I can't remember. Both are. I got two different pairs of running shorts. Both are French. I can't remember what they are.
Cool. Well, congratulations. Now we're officially shifting our focus to New Year's Eve.
We're almost here. We're but days away. Yeah. Do you have you are going to a wedding that ends at 10:30 p.m.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're staying in a nice hotel though, and their bar is going to be open. So we're just going to shift over there and spend the evening together with strangers and ring in the new year in the bar, I suppose.
Are you going to try to mine the wedding party and take guests with you as you leave?
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know everybody at this wedding. I know very few people. And I suppose if they want to come, that's fine. But I think Lauren and I are fine just spending it with one another as well.
Well, that's great. That's a nice turn.
What are you guys doing?
Going to a party, I do believe, in LA. I can't remember where or what. That's
staying in a hotel.
Yeah, staying with friends who live up in LA. So, or we might be staying. That's the beauty of having a wife sometimes, I think, or maybe just having a partner in general, is having plans made for you that you're so vaguely unaware of as to be Like, I have no idea, right? Like, I'm just going to go where I'm told. I'm going to pack what I'm told to pack. I'm going to drive where I'm told to drive. Like, I don't have to put 1 ounce of my brain into any of it. It's great.
Well, I live in that same world, and everything is written on a calendar on the refrigerator in the kitchen, and I still don't look at it. And
Yeah,
so
of course.
like literally this Tuesday, she had something at 6:30 in the evening, and at 5 she reminds me about it, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad you told me. She's like, it's been written on the calendar for a month. How do you
Yeah,
not know? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't ever look at that thing because I know you're going to tell me about it, you know?
exactly. Writing on the calendar for, I feel, for people like us, David Lee Scales, or I always get busted for not putting things in my phone. Put in your phone.
Yeah.
Like, be scrambling late to a dentist appointment. Why wasn't in your phone? I never put stuff in my phone. I don't look at stuff written. I guess I am an oral learner, but I have to be told 1 hour and then 30 minutes before it's time to go. Like, you
Totally.
can't tell me the day before. You have to tell me within the hour of what the plan is moving forward.
So much of partnership is understanding that your partner is that way and then accommodating them in that thing. You know, like Cersei knows, she learned at some point a day is too much time to tell you in advance. 30 minutes is not enough time. She figured out that 90 minutes was the right amount of time.
It's true. I've got to figure out, like, the delicate dance of a marriage, I feel, is how much should I attempt to grow and evolve as a human
Yeah.
versus how much should she accept my foibles the way I am, right?
100%.
And so I'm always trying to get better at stuff. Like, I'll put one thing in 30 in my phone, and I mean, there's things that I'll remember, like ballet. I do not forget anything to do with ballet. The rest of it is just all, and I'm pretty timely on the podcast. Aside from
I
that, it's
was
just a mash of odd.
I was going to say that we're going on probably beyond 4 years now of doing this, and you've never once missed a meeting or an appointment, and the scheduling shifts periodically. And there's been times, many times, where you and I haven't discussed it. You know, maybe we discussed it 5 days ago and we set the schedule. And the morning of, before I get in the car, I text you. I'm just like,
Yeah.
hey, see you in an hour, just to remind you, because I'm worried that you don't remember. You're always there. You've never needed a reminder.
I mean, yeah, there's some things in my life, I guess, podcast and ballet are, if we look at the hierarchy of how things get prioritized, I suppose podcast and ballet are the two most important things in my life.
It's funny. Never would have guessed.
Nope, me either.
You know what I will say, though, as New Year's Eve approaches, today we're recording this on December 29th. And another thing I should say is that your name is Chaz Smith and my name is David Scales, because one of the comments on our YouTube video last week said, why don't you put the name of the person you're interviewing at least in the title, or at least say it at the beginning of the episode? So I think maybe they just found the YouTube channel. Maybe they saw the Joel Tudor interview, and maybe they saw another interview where the names were included. And then they stumbled upon your and my show, and he was confused at the conversation that you and I were having.
Oh, makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
David Lee Scales, good to see you.
Good to see you, Chaz Smith. This is not an interview. This is a casual conversation, co-hosted show. Anyways, one thing I love is an Eve. I love a Christmas Eve. I love a New Year's Eve. It is the precursor to the main event, but you get to celebrate it twice as much. And I was realizing this week, we should incorporate that into every other holiday. We should have Halloween Eve, absolutely. A 4th of July Eve, Cinco de Mayo Eve. Everything should have an Eve.
It's really true. You would instantly double your calendar's pleasure just by a one simple addition that everybody too, I mean, besides the minor holidays, everyone's gearing up for the holiday on the eve of it anyway. So you might as well just take it off. Everybody just, like, it's already a wash, right? Nobody has their head full in the game on what? I mean, I guess they probably do on Halloween Eve. People probably aren't yet thinking about Halloween.
I think they are. They've decorated their house a month in advance. They've already done the shopping. They've got the costume lined up. There should absolutely be a Halloween Eve. That might be the most logical next Eve, actually.
That's true, because Halloween is one of those shifting dates too. Like Easter Eve would be kind of a bummer because it would just be Saturday, right? Your weekend is already getting chewed up. just
Right.
as it is. So we don't need an Easter Eve, but we do need a Halloween Eve, because that Halloween Eve could fall on a Wednesday.
Exactly. And that's the other thing is with Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, employers know it's a wash. They're letting you out early if you're even there at all. And so we can absolutely, as working class people, we could band together and get another free day from our employer.
I wonder how employers felt being self-employed. I wonder how employers felt about this particular season in terms of Christmas and New Year's falling on a Sunday. Did they force employees back to work on Monday?
Probably not.
You don't
Probably
think
not
so?
on Christmas, but maybe on New Year's, because New Year's, it ends up being January 2nd. You already got the first off, the
Yeah.
second, whereas Christmas Day is so impactful, you need the following day off.
It's true, but man, like I would imagine that it was a bummer time for the employee of the world.
Well, nothing's getting done. I mean, that's the other thing is this week is an interlude week. And I'd be okay with more interlude weeks too, to be perfectly honest with you. It's kind of like I am working, but I'm doing a lot of catch up from the season. And then I'm in a reflective state. I'm doing a bit of planning for next year. And we need a down week like that where you're technically working, but you're not on the hamster wheel. That is
This one, this one was odd for that, I think, though. Again, the Sunday to Sunday, because you wake up and it's Monday, right? And you have a full week stretched out ahead. Like this week, this interlude, usually I will take full advantage of interlude. And I don't know what that means since I don't work anyway. But I feel it, I suppose. I feel like I could be late. I woke up Monday morning, raring to go, like grinding beach grit, doing all the work.
Yeah, even though there's no surf news.
Man, can we talk about this real quick? Has there ever been a bleaker time in the history of surfing that there has been less surf news? And
I don't
in
remember
addition to that, do we blame the WSL?
Well, or do we give them thanks for giving us so much news throughout the rest of the year?
I mean, I just don't know. Like, I don't know why the break is as long as it is, to be quite honest. I mean, there's no reason that surfing could not be a round the year thing, right? Where you have, excuse me, a couple weeks off between contests, maybe 3 weeks. Give them a month off somewhere, but that's it, right? A professional surfer should not need, how long? It's been, when Trestles ended in September, and we will begin again at the end of January. That is October, November, December, January. That's a 4-month off season. I don't know any sport that has a full 4-month off season.
Yeah. Well, the reality is everything's happening in Hawaii right now, as it always does. And there are stories happening, but there aren't journalist boots on the ground like there used to be in the past. Well, and those were always stories throughout the winter months that were not related to the ASP at the time. It was just the magazines had writers there and photographers there documenting all of it and telling those stories,
It's totally true. It's true. I mean, I was the beneficiary of a couple of those tours. Like, I loved it over there, right? But there was always something to hang it on, which was the Triple Crown, right? Like, you had, well, sure, nobody here was that interested, or nobody outside of Hawaii was that interested in Haleiwa or Sunset. You still had this thing happening that allowed for, this structure, which allowed you to hang other stories on, which without that, Vans turning it to the digital Triple Crown means that nobody's paying attention to that, right? I mean, have you paid one iota of attention to the Vans Triple Crown?
Well, it hasn't started yet. It starts, I think, January 3rd or something.
Haleiwa didn't count, as I thought you had to bag away at Haleiwa too.
Yeah, no, not during the event. It's a free surf thing. Okay. So it's a 1-month thing, but it starts in the beginning of January.
So dumb.
But Stab Magazine is there, and they're doing the pickup series, which is sponsored by Vans, and reporting like once a week, doing a 30-minute episode. And so there were a few things that they mentioned in this first episode that I realized, that would be newsworthy if there was a bigger kind of outlet for this information than just the pickup, because they're not then writing articles about it on the website. It's just they mention it in passing in the video. one of them was that at Turtle Bay, some random guest who was staying there was airdropping photos of his junk to anybody's phone who would accept the airdrop in the hotel.
That's a great little story.
I know. It was, I mean, it's a sex crime is what it is. I don't know why I'm laughing about it, but there's an element of humor in it to me. Like how insane are people, you know?
But it's also like, it's, you know, exactly who the person, it's not like it comes in anonymously from an airdrop. Like you have the person's phone information right there.
Yeah. He got tackled apparently by security and arrested like on the spot. So yeah, you're right. There's no anonymity to it,
No.
which is bizarre.
Was he a guest?
Yeah, he was a guest of the hotel.
Wow. See, good story.
I know.
Man.
I know. And there's a documentary on Netflix right now called Don't Answer the Phone, which is about a crime that took place over the course of, or a lot of crimes that took place over the course of 20 years or so, where there was a guy calling fast food joints and pretending to be a police officer and getting the assistant manager to call in one of the employees, say, hey, you have an employee who, or a customer reported that their wallet was stolen by one of your employees who's an 18-year-old brunette. And they're like, oh yeah, we have an employee who's an 18-year-old brunette. Okay, call her into the back office and strip search her. And they'd get the assistant manager just however far they could take it. It would end up being start with a strip search. It would end up being a body cavity search at times. It would end up being oral sex. Like he would just push it for an hour or two. And it was completely anonymous, done with calling cards. So they had a hard time tracking it. And the perpetrator did this for, again, 20 years, getting away with it. And, you know, sometimes the assistant manager would realize it's a hoax and hang up. Well, the perp would just move on to the next one and maybe go farther with the next one, you know? So sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but dozens and dozens and dozens of times it did.
Crazy.
Well, and so I think about that crime and I think about this crime and I'm like, to what end? What gratification are you getting? There's no money attached to it. There's no even witnessing of the crime itself. You're just doing it, sending it off into oblivion, and that is the payoff for that person.
I mean, it's got to be some weird power thing, right? Of like,
yeah.
But it still doesn't seem like the power you would feel from doing that would be worth the actual doing of it.
Totally. I know, it's bizarre. Which is good. It's good that you and I cannot relate to this because
I suppose if we could, it's
it would
like
be problematic.
It's sort of funny and sad on a related note that prank calling you cannot do anymore. The daughter and her friends got together the other day and were prank calling fast food restaurants and got called right back by one of them and said, knock it off. Like, because they have their dumb number. Like it's coming in from your cell phone. They're like, what? They were, I think they were vaguely aware that, you know, you can't really prank call from a cell phone, but they were still attempting. What
was the prank? What were they saying?
I don't know, just like stupid 9-year-old girl stuff, probably like, you know, or trying to order 1,000 burgers or who knows what they think is funny. But for certainly, I will say it wasn't funny, whatever it was.
Right.
But like getting called back by the manager and said, stop doing this.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, they're giggling all along the way, which is always a tell.
Like whatever it was not well thought nor well executed. It would have been a sigh like that.
Yeah. I appreciate you using the phrase prank call because I really, as a 13 or 14-year-old was indignant when it became commonplace to refer to it as a crank call, which was just a miscommunication at some point along the way. And people are too dumb to connect the dots back to prank, you know?
Frustrating. And it is a prank call.
It's absolutely a prank call. The other little story that stab video talked about was Carissa Moore will not be participating in the Vans Digital Triple Crown, which she's won the last 2 years in a row. And she won't be participating because she's going to be camped out at Lowers throughout the winter to put in the hard yards there because of her devastating loss this past year to Stephanie Gilmore in the finals day.
To me, that is a giant bummer in terms of, I don't care about the Vans digital Triple Crown. But not to have Carissa Moore in Hawaii during Hawaii season seems like shame on UWSL for making a format that makes her camp out at lowers and surf lowers instead of pumping North Shore.
Yeah, I felt the same way, but I didn't focus my ire towards the WSL, although I could see how you ended up there. I saw it as, I guess it's tangential to what you're saying, because I saw it as Adriano de Souza back in the day, who just designs his surfing so formulaic that it forgets what surfing was supposed to be in the first place, And so Carissa doing that, first of all, it's the wrong time of year to be camped out at lowers. So I don't know how much relation there will be to what she's learning there during the winter versus the way things are taking place during the summer. But more importantly than that, anything you do on the North Shore should bolster your surf ability for anything else that you encounter around the world for the rest of the year. So 1 month spent in the winter at the North Shore will improve your surfing more than any amount of time spent at lowers can, and your ocean awareness and everything else that comes with it.
Except unless you're going to be stinking surfing trestles for the crown. I mean, again, I blame the WSL for the ripple effect of making a bad decision. And then now we're seeing the effects of it, right? Of surfers no longer being in Hawaii when they should be there because they want to win, right? If Carissa wants to win, I could see her logic, because I hear you, and North Shore, but the North Shore is the North Shore. And I think the skills you learn on the North Shore help you on the North Shore. I don't think taking big old airdrops into pits helps you at trestles, right? And I
think it does. I mean, it does and it doesn't. You're right. Your point is still valid, but my point is taking the airdrop. There's experiences, yes, on the North Shore that are for expert level surfers at all, and honing your expertise is really what professional surfing should be all about. But to your point, you're right, is professional surfing has no longer become about honing your expertise at the highest level. It's become about something totally different. And now she's somewhere totally different, focused on something that isn't the thing. It isn't surfing anymore. It's this tedious, tactical, thing that isn't related to the original thing, which is a shame, because the original thing is so unique and so beautiful, and there's nothing else on the planet that can be it, except now we're training for some gymnastic event where you're trying to just beat the other opponent rather than, beat Mother Nature.
I still don't see how and why they don't end the season January 29th. It's like Super Bowl-ish time, right? It's a regular time to end seasons in sport. Why they don't end and have the finals day at Pipe?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand.
Great question.
You don't start at Bells or whatever. And sure, Trestles is on there in September. And then, dang, if you still want to take 4 months off, you can give them all 4 months off and then end January 29th. They're sticking another event somewhere in there. California could use another event in October.
Yeah, totally.
Plenty of places are going off in October.
Well, this kind of relates to, I put together a little year in review recap for the Grit. I went back and I looked at what were the most downloaded episodes, and then wanted to pull the story highlights from those most downloaded episodes to see where the most engagement is for what we're doing.
Great. This will be good moving forward too. We can craft better shows.
Well, it's not surprising. You could have predicted where the most engagement would be. Most downloaded episode was in February of 2022. It was episode 153 with Jamie Brisick.
Jamie Brisick is a draw.
More than you and I are.
Shockingly.
Any guest we ever have is a most downloaded episode. Whether it's Devin or Chuck Patterson, your wife.
Great. Let's bring some more guests back on, I suppose, in 2023.
I'm fine with that. The stories from episode 153 with Jamie were Hawaii. So again, it was February. It was all the stories were in Hawaii. He had just written a story for the New York Times, I believe it was, about, not going to Hawaii anymore and why it's overrun and how much it's changed. The other story was Sterling Spencer had re-entered the comedic space, and he kind of kicked off in Hawaii doing those videos. The one with Tom Carroll, he and Tom Carroll entering the 12th dimension, which was amazing.
Amazing.
Kelly Slater's priority blunder at sunset was a topic that day. So Hawaii centric.
Great. We should go next year to Hawaii and do a couple weeks, or record a couple weeks worth in Hawaii.
I am totally down.
We should.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go back.
Me too. I'm missing it badly.
Let's get a house.
Let's do it. We can invite people over to interview.
Okay. I'm totally down. I think as a business, we may be ready for something like that next year. And it would be amazing. I mean, the content we could create would be well worth it.
I mean, very much worth it.
Okay. We'll figure that out. The other second most downloaded episode was the very next episode. So a bunch of listeners probably came for Jamie and then lingered around for the following episode, 154. And the huge news story that episode was the shuttering of WSL Studios.
Ooh, still isn't back open. It's done forever.
I know. That was a big story at the time, though. And I feel like also was so much of Eric Logan's messaging was pumping that, and then they shuttered that. And so much of his messaging now is about all of the successes of the year, with just a complete lack of acknowledgement of, you beat this drum for the studios for 2 years straight, and then it's over, and all that we hear about is the successes again. Whatever happened, that was your biggest drum beating thing.
I mean, that was the way that WSL was supposed to transition. It was supposed to become a media company, and then did not. And now it's an event company again. And I suppose that's what it is.
Yeah. The next most downloaded episode was 165, and that was our show of positivity.
Oh, time to move. We got to go back. We got to revisit positivity throughout this coming year.
I'm totally down for that. Yeah, the year of positivity.
Great. Let's do a whole year.
I know. And the reason that was the show of positivity was Margaret River was pumping. So easy to talk about great surf and great surfing. Surfers were cut from the tour. So that was a big news story. And then Devin Howard left the WSL in that episode as well.
A lot happened in the WSL this year. Looking back, I mean, it was an action-packed year up until the last month, 2 months.
It really was. So again, if you look at those 3 episodes and the news stories, pumping surf was kind of a theme. You had Hawaii, sunset, you had pumping Margaret River. So people want pumping surf. I think should be super obvious, but it doesn't seem to be.
Are you sure they don't want Strider Wasilewski's brother, Mescal, marrying Full House star Jodie Sweetin in July? Are you sure that's not what they want?
How did that article track for Beach Grit? And you tell me, is that what they want?
Apparently, yes.
WSL failures are fun for listeners too. Those were big news stories for you and I.
I mean, well, I look forward to more WSL failures in the coming year. I think that is inevitable, right? Unless, do you think they've stripped it down enough where it's almost too small to fail now, where all they have to do is run each event properly? There'll be your various gaffes here or there, but otherwise there's nothing. They're not releasing anything, right? They're not making content. They're not doing any more Ultimate Surfers. They're not doing anything anymore other than holding events.
Well, it's not too small to fail, but you're right. There's less opportunities to fail. I think though there is an ultimate failure still ahead. I don't see Eric Logan staying here for 20 years and writing this thing to an ultimate profitable success. I see all the bad decisions that have been made ending with him leaving the company, maybe on his own accord, but to a better job essentially, and then having to restructure the whole thing.
You know who's never
leadership?
Two people are never going to leave. I will tell you who they are. It is Jesse Geyer and Dave Prodam. Will be, I don't know what position Dave slides over into, but Jesse I think has been groomed to take over as CEO for a while now. And there we'll have it. Ooh, do you think 2023 is going to bring CEO Jessie Miley Dyer?
It very well could. I don't think that's a great business decision, though. I mean, I don't know that she's proven any vision for the company that would take
Equality,
it into
man.
a what?
She proved equality.
Yeah, I mean that's an okay thing to champion, but that's not a vision for the company, you know?
I mean, I wonder though if she would look at her year and say, "Look, I got us into the New York Times, multiple times, or at least a few times. I've made surfing a big deal because of this equality thing."
The stories that have been in the New York Times as it relates to the WSL are the least interesting stories that the WSL kicked out this year. The Joel Tudor thing is way more interesting. There's tons of, I mean, the Kelly Slater, I guess, turning 50 and winning the Pipe Masters is worth noting and worth discussing and writing about. But there's just a lot more sensational stories that I think would have a lot more traction for the mainstream public if they had leveraged those in the mainstream media.
Equality, man. That's what we had this year. We had equality.
Yeah. Well, moving on from the WSL and potential things for 2023, the biggest story coming out of surf news this week, you haven't even touched on, Waimea Rivermouth is all we got this week.
We got it. Derek Riley wrote, I think, 2 on the Waimea Rivermouth.
Chaos and mass confusion at Waimea Bay as man-made river wave almost claims life of pipe master Jamie O'Brien. Jamie said, quote, "Gnarliest experience ever. Did you see me almost die? I got sucked into the vortex of all vortexes!" Exclamation point.
Great headline. Way to go, Derek Riley. And also, I'm surprised. I mean, the Rivermouth did look totally gnarly. I'm surprised regularly when that thing gets even, at any size, when they go dig it out and stuff, that there's people not drowning all the time. Like the way water moves there, I can't, clearly either everybody's such great swimmers and water people that it's no problem, or I just imagine the water pushing you down and then really dragging you out, but keeping you down.
Well, in the Endless Summer 2, where they show it, it's so docile that anybody could, wipe out there and get pushed out into flat water and survive and just swim back to the beach. But the way it was happening in this last week, that vortex was taking place 200 yards into Waimea Bay. So if you got sucked out there, you would have to deal with that vortex for 200 yards plus left and right and every which way, and then trying to swim in through it. So yeah, I don't know that anybody other than Mason Ho and Jamie O'Brien and whoever else among those YouTubers would have been able to survive it, because I wouldn't have been able to survive that.
No, Jamie's, I mean, living with Jamie on the North Shore, the times that I did that, it's wild. Jamie's complete, everything water related is just fun and funny to him. Like, crazy. I imagine him getting swept out 200 yards. I would be thinking, oh my goodness, I have to swim in basically through a riptide and I'm out in Waimea.
Yeah.
And you just feel the panic start to, I don't think Jamie O'Brien has once felt panic rise, even though for certainly he thought, well, I'm going to die, but it was going to be funny.
You know what's crazy about Jamie? And this should be a whole segment. I should have designed this segment already. Is how he doesn't look physically fit.
No. Jamie's had dad bod since before dad bod was even a thing.
Totally. And yet he surfs all the time. He clearly is fit, and goes through a situation like that where that churn on the water creates so much froth. Even if you're floating near the top of the water itself, there's foam. You have to be holding your breath for a ton of time. You have to be swimming a ton of time. It's like an endurance feat. There's very few people on the planet that are equipped for that. And his body doesn't look like it's ready to handle it.
I mean, I think the funny thing about Jamie is his physique, I would imagine, I'm going to put this out here, is the perfect surfing physique, which you think it should be cut and lean and whatever.
Yeah.
But Jamie has enough cushiony fat to probably stay a little more buoyant and also take beatings, right? He has a little layer of protective padding. His arms are weirdly long, and so he can paddle like a beast. I mean, he honestly is like the perfect, who would have ever guessed? Jamie O'Brien is the perfect physical specimen for surfing.
Well, I understand he's probably not hitting the gym and lifting weights and building muscle, but just the amount of time he spends physically active, mainly surfing, you would think that he'd be cut.
No, Jamie likes
Crazy.
to eat. Jamie likes to eat. Jamie is not scared of eating.
Maybe that's what does it.
Yeah, it's good. He keeps a nice stasis.
Yeah.
He always got energy to burn in there.
That Waimea footage, for anybody who hasn't seen it, Waimea Rivermouth footage is super entertaining and crazy. It's literally an overhead standing wave. I mean, maybe an overhead and a half. I've never seen anything like it. And the drone shots that show the amount of water moving out of the river and into the bay is like torrential.
Do you think Ben Gravy would have surfed it had he been there?
Great question. I'm kind of shocked at how good of a surfer he's become. So there's a possibility that he might have.
Ben Gravy was getting some barrels out at El Slamo and his return to surfing.
I saw a couple of the clips and I'm like, it's a freaking legit wave. He's making legit drops. And yeah, I feel like we've watched him improve over the last 3 years in ways that I did not anticipate.
I think one of the waves I saw at El Slamo that he dropped into and made a clean little barrel, he was not riding his soft top, which it's time for him. Like the soft top thing was funny. And of course he's, is tied to his business and all that. Like,
yeah,
he's got to move product, but my goodness gracious, like get off the soft top and actually surf for a second. Cause he looked good.
Yeah. Yeah. He earned our respect finally.
Yeah. Good job, Ben.
Well, moving on from that, the other huge story that was tangential to surfing is Salema Masekela, and Lupita Nyong'o are in a relationship officially. It's Instagram official.
She made him Instagram official, and wow, this was the thunderbolt we needed pre-pipeline with 2 months to go still.
I could not agree more. I rarely do I care about who's dating who, but rarely have I felt more joy and glee for coupling news than this. I think this is an awesome couple.
Lupita Nyong'o, she's an Oscar winner. She's not just a model. She's not just an actress. She is a acclaimed actress at the very height of her powers. It's not like my goodness gracious me. Doesn't get better.
There's some actors and actresses who I just love, and everything that they're in, it's like they make excellent choices for the films that they're in. Everything that they're in, I love. And she's one of them. And I haven't really researched where she's from. I didn't know she was a model that you just said. I never researched. I would not have known if she was married. I knew nothing about her. I just like her films, And so when I saw that story, I just thought, holy cow. First of all, good on you, Salema. I mean, talk about marrying up or dating up or whatever. She's as cool as it gets.
What's the over under on this relationship, David Lee Scales?
I think I'm betting that it goes. First of all, don't bring any negativity into this because I want this to go the long haul. It's not even dawned on me that it could end. I want this to go marriage, kids, the whole distance.
I'm going over under at 8 months.
Okay, I'll take the bet. I'll take the over.
Okay.
What's the wager?
What would be a good wager on this one? Well, we should leave it up to the listeners.
Okay. We'll do an Instagram poll.
Yeah, perfect. What should the wager be?
I loved the reveal video. I'm not for doing stuff like that with your couple necessarily, with your spouse or whoever. But the video was so good. It was so perfect for them. It was so well conceived, so well executed. I was like, dang, good job. I'm all in. I'm supporting you both.
I'm excited. I'm excited for news. I hope this coupling generates more news. It's been a little lackluster since the announcement, but I'm excited moving forward to see more and to be able to share more with readers at home.
Name a better two people that coupled up with better names. Lupita Nyong'o and Selema Masakela. They're like superhero names.
It really does flow. It flows. It's great for the times. It's a wonderful coupling. I just wish it was going to last longer than 8 months.
Well, I'm betting it does. Coming in hot on their heels and also making Beach Grit headlines. Jodie Sweetin from Full House is married to Strider give me his last name. Wasilewski?
Yeah.
Wasilewski. Strider Wasilewski's brother, whose name is Mezcal, apparently. Did you even know that until this news broke?
No. Somebody sent this story to me a while ago, a couple weeks ago. I mean, the wedding happened, wedding happened July 30th or something like that. And somebody sent it to me a few weeks or maybe a month ago. And I was like laughing at Mezcal Wasilewski. Like, it's a great name, right? And picturing Strider and Mezcal growing up together, like there in Malibu. They grew up in Malibu, right? I think they did.
I think it was Venice. More like Venice, Santa Monica. It was Santa Monica-ish. Yeah.
Them growing up together and just, this was a feel-good story for me too. And Jodie Sweetin has been in the news for, what is it? Oh, she got mad at her TV sister, Candace Cameron, for talking about that Hallmark movies or something are going to focus on traditional marriage, not gay marriage.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of news.
She's been in the news for years and years. She had a crystal meth problem back in the day.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. So she grew up right near where I'm sitting right now. Actually, we grew up in a similar area. And so I had a lot of tangential friends, or we had a lot of tangential friends. I never knew her directly, but everybody knew her, and I used to work in a restaurant. She would come in all the time. And so she was famous for this wholesome childhood career. But shortly after that series ended, she was in the news for having like crystal meth issues. I think this is like her fourth husband, to be honest.
It is.
Yeah.
Her Mezcal is number 4.
Yeah.
But it's going strong.
Yeah, but she seems to be, obviously they've revamped that series. And so she has a whole new phase of her career. She seems to be clean and happy and all that sort of stuff. Not trying to disparage her, but she's been in the news a lot over the years. And by the way, how much do you have to love a given alcohol to name your child after that alcohol?
I had a friend growing up whose brother's name was Bourbon, and I didn't know what bourbon was. And I just thought, it's Bourbon Show. That kid's name is Bourbon.
I mean, I want to be against it, but alcohol has pretty cool names. Like Bourbon is a cool name. Mezcal is a super cool name.
Mezcal Wasilewski is one I want to write more stories about. I hope, and Strider, if you're listening, bring your brother on tour. Have him come from, like, reporting from the lineup. Strider and Mezcal seems like that's the thing that would give finally the World Surf League its much sought after Emmy Award.
I agree. You would have thought Strider Raspberry Wasilewski was the coolest name in the family. Like Strider, I've never even heard that name before. Raspberry is, a reach, but it's cool. Like it works for him. So you would have thought that was the cool kid. Who knew? Mezcal was upstaging him
the whole time. I think Mezcal has a great middle name too. If I can't remember what, I'll dig in after the show, but I think he's got a good middle name too.
I missed that.
Yeah. Mezcal.
Well,
congrats.
I would, as much as I love both of these stories, congratulations to the two new couples. I think that you've overlooked the greatest, which is John and Lauren. John and Lauren, we discussed last week, but they're going to be off on their honeymoon. John will also not be competing in the digital triple crown this season because he's going to be honeymooning.
I mean, great. And that is a happy couple. That is a wonderful couple, but there's not enough adjacent to the surf. Like, I need for my couples to spark a real adjacency, right? Like Lauren, was she a model?
Yeah, she has worked as a model. I don't know that she was pursuing that professionally. I mean, in the headline that Derek wrote about the story, he referenced her job. I forget what it was though.
So that's like great, a great couple, a wholesome, legitimate, in love it. That doesn't bang a headline for me right there. I
Well,
need
you need
adjacent.
some adjacency that lives in celebrity. Like she
Yeah,
didn't come from the celebrity world.
no, I can't just write about happy couples. I mean, I'm sure that, what's his name? Can't even remember these surfers anymore. Julian Wilson and his wife. I'm sure they're wonderfully happy as well, right? Raising
Yeah.
cute kids. I'm sure there's a lot of fine marriages in professional surfing. Kolohe and his wife, he was just profiled, I think, on maybe the Olympic Channel or something. Kolohe Andino, and was crediting his wife and baby for, like, now he has a new focus other than surfing, and a great, wholesome, wonderful story where you could tell that Kolohe was fully engaged in both his, in his wife and daughter's life, and that's wonderful and heartwarming. That is not the beach cred way.
No, it isn't. Somebody did comment though that, oh, it was also on our YouTube channel. Is Salema Masakela surfing's ultimate Nepo baby?
Oh, I mean, for sure, except his dad. I mean, surfing, or Sal nepoed himself into surfing. Like, his shapeshift from Bro Bra, like Sal, to Salema and Mami Wata and all that. I mean, Sal has like shapeshifted so hard that he created his own nepotism.
Like he's nepoed in from his earlier version
From
of
his
himself.
earlier nepo. Yeah.
I mean, but I think that the commenter has a good point, which is you and I in last week's conversation were only focused on surfing icons whose children are benefiting from their surf status.
Yes.
Sal is benefiting from an icon status in the surf space. It just happens to not be his dad wasn't a surfer.
His dad, a musical great, for those who don't know.
But to be perfectly honest, I mean, a lot of Sal's, I don't know, like a lot of people recognize his father, and that's why maybe Sal, like Sal isn't a professional surfer, but he lives in the space of professional surfers, and some of that could be attributed to the success of his father.
That's true. Sal,
so,
the ultimate nepo baby.
He and Ford Archibald are battling it out. Well, congratulations to all of those happy couples. We support you. I've got 2 True Grit or clickbait crap articles before we go to commercial.
Let's do it.
Quote, Los Angeles surfers put on an amazing display of wildly below average skill as swell hits Southern California, !
Did you watch this clip?
No.
Okay, so let me set the scene for you here. I was Google News surf, right? Seeing what was out there in the morning. And I saw this headline in the morning. It was from the Inertia, and it was like, I think the title in the Inertia was "Closeout Barrels Are Still Fun to Watch," right? I'm not clicking them. I'm like, dumb Inertia. Just scroll through. Later in the day, I came back, saw it again. Then later in the day, I came back, saw it again. So I finally thought, and clicked on it. And there was no real story. There was just this YouTube video.
Right.
And so I clicked on the YouTube video quick. Goodbye, Inertia. And it was, I think, day 2, big closeouts or something was the title of the YouTube video. Anyhow, it was at El Porto, where our World Surf League CEO, Eric Logan, that's his home break, I think. And watching the waves, they weren't huge. It was like, good size LA, but the waves weren't huge. And many of them weren't closeouts. They were like kind of properly good waves. And I have never seen, unless the videographer was trying to film everyone sucking, I haven't seen a worse display of surfing, which made me think, I surf in San Diego, and made me think maybe I just like the surfing around here is a lot better than LA. I mean, it clearly must be in Orange County too. LA, they don't get many good waves, and it's, whatever. But watching it, I mean, it is worth viewer or a listener, worth a watch just to see and measure yourself up. Like, of course, you have an image of yourself in your mind, and I wouldn't have been shredding out there, but I would have been surfing better than a lot of those people. Not because I'm good, but just that's how bad they were.
Well, So you can write the, or you can officially claim this as true grit, because I do think that the story here is somehow the level of surfing over time has gotten worse and worse and worse, whereas everything else in our life has slowly gotten better. Like television shows now are, and movies are fantastic. Just like the average show that ends up on Netflix that has zero critical acclaim or anything like that is good,
Yeah.
compared to The Love Boat from back in the day or Gilligan's Island or whatever. Like there's just been this slow betterment of the craft of TV and film. Food is way better than it's ever been. Like an average Japanese restaurant nearby is better than the best Japanese restaurant of my youth.
Yep.
Pizza, same way. Wine, $10 wine is excellent nowadays. Surfing, on the other hand, when I was young, there was a lot of mediocre surfers in the lineup, but never in a million years would they publish a photo of themselves anywhere, take video of themselves and share. They wouldn't even share that video with friends. If I ever saw a clip of myself growing up, I was like embarrassed when I saw it because of the disparity of what I thought I was doing versus what it looks like on film. And there wasn't a chance that I would let any of my friends peek over my shoulder and see that video clip. I would be hiding that thing. And now I see not only average Joes, certainly the World Surf League CEO publishing the most average stuff ever, and also pros publishing B and C level clips of themselves just because they want to feed the algorithm.
I mean, it's wild. To these people's credit in this video, it didn't look like they were, they were just getting filmed. They were just out surfing.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know.
Well, that's on the filmer. Why would the filmer publish any of that footage? If you are filming surfing and that's kind of what you do, even if it's just a hobby, why would you publish all the B and C and D clips?
Well, I mean, it just made me wonder if the level of Los Angeles area surfing is honestly that bad, where he thought, oh man, these waves are kind of pumping and there's closeouts and that's funny. And people were getting like lipped by dropping in, and it wasn't like a lurching lip or anything. Yeah. They were just getting lipped by like the burger on a wave that was running and rolling off. I mean, it is honestly, if that's and I hate to harp on this, as somebody of mediocre skill myself, it's not like I'm taking joy, but man, it was like shockingly bad surfing.
I think that it has, aside from what's being published, I think surfing has just gotten, the average surfer has gotten worse than the average surfer of our youth, probably because of all the VALs that entered the space in COVID. So they're now on year 2 of learning, and there's more of them than there ever was before. But it's kind of shocking to see.
Yeah, it's shocking to see, and shocking to see there was a couple in the clip in the video who surfed well, right? But the amount of just weird style, like really weird style on weird boards.
There's a couple of other things happening. The proliferation of publishing mediocre to crappy content, those are now visuals and learning cues for all of the people who are on the inertia. So they think if that's the level that they're trying to achieve and they're going to fall short of it, then it dumbs everything down.
It's idiocracy what I mean? Of surfing. Yeah.
It is the idiocracy of surfing.
It's somebody's watching that clip and thinking, oh, that's how you surf that kind of bigger stuff. And then they go do a version of that.
Totally.
You're exactly right.
The other thing that's happening in tangent with that is it's not okay to give people constructive criticism because it's viewed as a hate crime. So yeah. I remember years ago us having a conversation of somebody video being posted on Kook of the Day where somebody had like some terrible, ugly stance as they were trying to put their head in the barrel. And the Kook of the Day like caption was kind of shaming the person. And all of the cacophony of comments were angry at Kook of the Day's comment for shaming the person for their terrible barrel stance. And our conversation on air was, no, the comment was directed to correct this person's terrible stance. You will never get the barrel you're trying to get with that type of a stance. And so, kook of the day, pointing that out and shaming you, albeit publicly, is a corrective behavior to help you get your end goal. If you take it as a hate crime and you are the victim of this thing, you will continue to never achieve your goal. And all of the commenters who don't understand that, are only hurting the person's ultimate goal. And that was confusing to me at the time. And I think we're way further down the line in that thing that's happening, to where it's like completely lost track of where the story even is.
That's so true. So true. But man, I will say, if you feel like you want to look good, you should go up to LA and go surf El Porto. I think you would be like the best surfer listener in the lineup up there. You would rip. You feel good.
I like that idea too. Send everybody who would normally surf our beaches up to El Porto.
Yep. Get it.
Yeah. All right. Quote, True Grit or Clickbait, quote, icon Kelly Slater defends scent of his surf ranch in blistering online screed. Kelly said, quote, imagine thinking cows farting is worse than 6 billion pounds of pesticides sprayed in a year.
Uh-oh, this might have been clickbait here. This was a reference-free story from Kelly. It just said that. There was a picture of a cow and a picture of spraying pesticides, and it just said, but there was no link to a story. There was no, wasn't aware of any current conversation in that reached a level of general people being generally aware of it, of is it worse for cows? I'm imagining it was a debate about vegetarianism or something. But again, I love Kelly for this, a complete reference-free statement about something that you can only draw conclusions from, right? Like, unless you actually know what he's talking about, you can only draw conclusions. So the conclusion I drew was that he was defending Lamore's cow smell.
Was it, he posted it in his stories?
Within his stories, it was just a story. Okay. And again, that's all, there was no link to it. There was no click. There was nothing in the comments. There was obviously no comments. There was nothing. It was just a reference-free, cows farting is better than pesticides.
His willingness to engage on social media still really surprises me.
I mean, I was reading some stuff about Joe Rogan. I think Kelly considers himself a Joe Rogan, right? I think he considers himself a Joe Rogan. You don't listen to Joe Rogan because he went to college or because he's an expert in anything or whatever, right? Joe Rogan is interesting because he has a good way of kind of shooting from the hip and kind of asking provocative questions and getting into a conversation. I think Kelly feels that his skill level is something like that as well, but I think Kelly probably feels that he's smart, really smart on top of it.
Yeah. Somebody sent me a screenshot. There's some Karen's of Instagram page or something like that. It's basically Karen's getting mad at skateboarders or whatever it happens to be. And Kelly commenting in the comment section of a video. And it was like him giving his like insight, like that Karen shouldn't be pissed at this person because this person was, in the right or something like that. And somebody screenshotted like laughing, going, why is Kelly engaging on a random Karen's Instagram page? Like, he's Kelly, so it's going to get highlighted and people are going to argue back and forth. Now he's got to spend 20 minutes engaging with somebody on a Karen's Instagram page. It's just really odd that he would take the time to do any of it and leave a trail on a public thing of any of it,
Well, it's funny too that Kelly's hot takes on that kind of stuff are usually super obvious. He's not coming in and like if he was going to come in and defend the Karen or something, if it was going to be a twist on what you would typically think, then I'd be like, oh yeah, it's weird that you want to engage, but at least you had some different insight. Like Kelly, when I've seen Kelly comment on stuff, 10 times out of 10, it is a expansion of what the common sentiment already is.
Yeah, totally. Which just takes a lot of time. I would think his time is spread way thinner than mine, and mine is, I don't have time to do that,
Nope, Kelly does.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yep. Thanks for the entertainment. All right, let's go to commercial break and come back with our final barrel or nah of 2022.
Let's do it.
Chaz, also our final commercial of 2022, we can only devote it to our beloved, our one and only athleticgreens.com/surf.
The amount of people over at my house over this holiday season has been infinite. The amount of sniffles and coughs and sniffles all over the place. I'm right as rain, fortified every day. Wake up, athleticgreens.com/surf. Boom, off I go through the world of disease.
Well, you're benefiting from it on a daily basis, but I would also argue you're benefiting from the cumulative effect of 18 months worth of it.
It is true. Now the family is all drinking my athleticgreens.com/surf. Every one of them is getting better. They are fending off diseases themselves. It's a real hit around the house. It's a holiday. Who knew that athleticgreens.com/surf would be a holiday drink on nearing the level of eggnog? Or
because look at the color of it. The color is festive.
It is. I mean, it belongs at Christmas, also at New Year's. And you know what? I don't know how, if you haven't signed up yet with New Year's coming, New Year's resolutions, this is an actual resolution that you will actually keep because it will be shipped to you monthly. All you have to do is drink it. It's the easiest New Year's resolution in the world.
You can't fail.
And you
cannot fail.
You'll feel
you won't
good.
Want to.
Yep.
And will even sweeten the deal with a 60-day money back guarantee.
60-day money back guarantee?
Yep. And 5 free travel packs and vitamin D that'll last you a year. So through these winter months in the Northern Hemisphere, where you're not getting a ton of sunlight, bolster it with a drop of vitamin D in your AG1. And that's it. Set it and forget it on athleticgreens.com/surf.
Is there a promo code to use?
Nope. Just go through the .com/surf and that tracks it for us, supports us, and of course supports whole body vitality and nutrition.
I've begged often for somebody who has gotten on the program to deliver me some bad news about it. Not one message after 18 months.
And I get negative messages all the time, but never once about athleticgreens.com/surf. So go and enjoy. All right, Chess Smith, we are back. Can I give you a movie recommendation real quick?
Yes, please.
So we often talk about Hollywood can't make a good surf film, right?
Yes.
Well, I have a recommendation for you that is not a surf film, but it is a surfer who made the film, and it is about a surfer, and there is surfing in it, but it's not about surfing itself.
That's the perfect concoction right there.
I think it is too. It's called Get Away While You Can.
Okay, Get Away While You Can. Is it on Netflix?
It is. You have to pay for it on Prime or Apple. It's $3.99.
Great.
But it is set on a sailboat.
I'm already in.
This is why I'm recommending it to you. It's filmed in basically 3 locations, but mainly 2 locations, on a sailboat and on a remote island. The 3rd location is San Pedro, where they're kind of flashing back to conversations that the main character is having with his father. His father's played by Ed Harris, who you know and love. Yeah. And it's really good. I just interviewed, or I'm going to be publishing the interview with the director, the writer, director, and star of the film.
What's his name?
His name's Terrence Martin.
He's
a Venice Beach guy. He's worked in Hollywood. He made a film in 2009 called The Donner Party, which is about the Donner Party that he wrote and directed. And it was a big studio film and all that sort of stuff. But, everything's changed in Hollywood, but working for the big studios, obviously you don't have full creative control. And so this project is kind of the full creative control passion project with he and his wife. They co-wrote, co-directed, and believe it or not, funded the film with poker winnings.
Amazing. This movie gets better and better.
It's crazy. And so as he talks about his story, trying to get traditional funding through studios, and has a bunch of detours, like was going to do the Oliver Stone was supporting it for a while, and all sorts of kind of big name tangential things. But while none of that ultimately came together, as it often doesn't in Hollywood, the world had changed enough to where you can do things independently. It's easier to produce. It's easier to find distribution. There's more distribution channels, all that sort of things. And so it worked out the best in the end, where he could do it on his own, fund it on his own, and also retain complete creative control of it all. And it's good enough to attract, Ed Harris to star in it as well. And it's really good.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you for the recommendation.
Gladly. Get away while you can.
Yeah.
Is what it's called. Okay. Barrel or not? I got to pull up the share screen. And this one comes from a listener. It's actually two of them here, but
Chaz, David, Jesse here, down here in SoCal, and got COVID, so I've had a lot of time for some thinking, and I got two barrel or nas for you. The first one is surfing with COVID. Feeling almost good enough to be active, and I don't know, do you think I'd get someone else sick if it's a crowded lineup? And my second is writing an autobiography. My cousin did it. Sounds cool, but is it kind of conceited? I'm only 29, so like, if you were to, what's a good age to start? Keep up the work, get barreled. Hey.
You're the perfect person to answer this question.
I'm the perfect person. The surfing COVID is total barrel. Surfing sick is a barrel. COVID now, I think in America, is great. It's what we should have done all along. Everybody's given up, right? Everybody has COVID. Everybody's getting COVID again. It's just everywhere. Like, you don't need to test yourself and be worried anymore, right? Is that
yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, I would say use the same level of caution that you would use if you had a flu or anything else. Try not to get anybody else sick.
Yeah, if you're sick and coughing, no matter what it is, if you're sick and coughing in somebody's face, that's not a good look. But anyway, surfing while sick is a full barrel. I think it's like, whatever, anybody's going to get sick somewhere. And if you're like, can power through your sickness and surf, it's awesome. Barrel, right?
There's times where clearly you need rest, and you need rest, and your body won't let you do anything but rest. In that scenario, rest. That's all you need to recover, or that's what a primary key component you need to recover. But if you're in his situation where it's more of a courtesy, he's considering the courtesy involved, just go surf down the beach without a crowd. And I would argue you'll feel better. Like, that is part of getting better, is getting out of bed and not moping.
Yeah.
Getting in the sunlight, getting some exercise, going surfing at a certain point expedites recovery. So if you feel like you're there, absolutely go do it down the beach.
I don't even say paddle out with somebody. I've never once heard of somebody getting sick in the lineup. I can't even imagine, like, whatever your cough traveling through the saline mist and landing on you're not shoulder. I mean, unless you're out at going to surf pipeline or lowers on a packed day where you're honestly shoulder to shoulder, any other lineup, you're not close enough to, I mean, you're naturally socially distancing already. Silly.
Yeah, totally.
Writing an autobiography at 29 purely depends on how much life experience you've had. Like, do you have enough to write about autobiography? That's a simple question. I think if yes, it's a totally conceited and also barrel.
I think it's a barrel no matter what, whether you've lived an exciting life or not. I think there's a certain discipline required in writing a book, autobiographical or otherwise, that is good for you to exercise no matter what.
I mean, one of the greatest autobiographies I think probably ever written is My Struggle by, oh man, what's his name? He's a Scandinavian, a Norwegian. We'll put it up on the site. My Struggle, Mein Kampf, like Hitler's book, is the title in English. And it is, I think, a 6-part series, or there's 6 books. Each one is massive.
Carl Uwe Newsgaard.
Yeah, Carl now Newsgaard. Carl Uwe Newsgaard. It's huge. And each one, nothing is happening. Nothing. He like meticulously goes through his life, walking to school with his friends, you know, going to get beer and throwing it in the snowbank and going to pick it up later. There's nothing. It's marriage, divorce, having a kid. It's so well written. It's like an absolute masterpiece. I think it won the Pulitzer Prize. It is a masterpiece of writing that's about nothing.
Yeah. So exercising that discipline, totally barrel, and then developing a craft of writing. You know, if you have something to write about, that's fine. If you don't have something to write about, that's actually even better for mastering the craft of writing, or at least developing the craft of writing. So it's a barrel no matter what. And you very likely will never publish the book. Maybe nobody will ever even read it. It's still a phenomenal exercise to do.
Agree. And Jesse, go read, as advice, go read Newsgaard's My Struggle. Go read at least the first one.
That's a great recommendation.
Great.
I have not read it. I was not familiar with it or aware of it, but I'm inclined.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, our final barrel or gnaw of the year comes from an old friend.
Gentlemen, Mark McInnes here, long time listener, first time caller. I need to know, which laundry do you fold and which laundry do you hang? Very interested in this one. Also, barrel or gnaw, surfers that ski instead of snowboarding. David Lee, I know this, you're going to hate this one, but come on. There's nothing like standing sideways on some sort of plank. You got to get it together, man. Also, thank you guys for everything. I appreciate everything. It's pretty funny listening to a podcast all the time and continually being blown away that getting support from two of my favorite surf, I was going to say journalists, but there's really only one surf journalist. Surf media types. All right, long one, super long one. Bye.
Mark McInnes, surf photographer.
Legendary photographer, winner of the Florida Surf Film Festival. Was it the best feature or best doc?
I think it was feature surf film.
Yeah, and if you have not seen his film, what's the title of it again, David Lee?
Island X.
Island X. That's what it is. Island X. Go download it. Go find it. Go buy it. Comes with a beautiful book too, or can come with a beautiful book. Mark McInnes is funny. The surf photographer was who was it? Just died? Brewer just died. Like the surf photographer in the digital day, you don't know as many. You know, I used to remember knowing all their names.
Oh, totally.
Mark McInnes is keeping sort of that tradition alive. I think I hear the name, I know the name, I look at his images like it's all one thing. He is a surf photographer in his prime.
Agreed. And Ben Weiland deserves a shout out for that film as well.
Yep.
So Island X, definitely go watch the film, consider getting the book. And he rest, I don't know, assured and feel great knowing that he's a fellow listener of your podcast.
But to the question at hand, important question. I fold crap t-shirts. I don't care, like Hanes t-shirts, whatever, you know, like t-shirts that I've gotten as gifts or whatever, my junk t-shirts, fold those. I will fold, I guess half the pants, but not all the pants. And the ones that go in the drawer will change sometimes. Sometimes some will be folded there. Sometimes they'll be hung. Other times they'll be hung and sometimes folded. But the nice stuff typically is what I hang. So I hang my nice t-shirts. I hang my nice pants. And by nice, I mean things I care about.
See, I iron, believe it or not, and hang everything, even t-shirts.
Yeah. Really? I mean, you get a nice crisp t-shirt that way.
Yeah, there's t-shirts that I sleep in. So like anything that's just for sleeping or lounging in the house, that I fold. But anything that I'm actually going to wear in public, iron and hang.
Wow. You've gotten more fussy than me in this one. Like I have like 5 or 6 good t-shirts. Basic. If anybody's looking for, it's an Australian brand, Bassike. run you about $1.10 per t-shirt, but worth every penny. And those like age well. They last longer, and I feel they look better hung. But other than, I have like 6 basics. Other than that, everything else gets folded t-shirt wise.
Lauren didn't even own an iron when we met. And so she doesn't iron anything. And she's baffled at the fact that I spend any amount of time ironing anything. But if I don't, my t-shirts are wrinkled and it just looks sloppy.
Do you iron her clothes?
No, she somehow doesn't need to iron things. I don't know why hers doesn't wrinkle and mine does.
Well, man, yeah. This is a shock for me that you iron your t-shirts.
I know. I think I'm probably one of the last few people on the planet that does it. And it's a total waste of time. Like, I hate doing it so much that it stacks up. And I have like 20 that need to be ironed, and I'm literally out of shirts. So I'll like have to spend a Sunday afternoon for 90 minutes ironing t-shirts. It's a total waste of time. And then one time Lauren's like, you cannot be wasting your time doing this. So she took it to the dry cleaner and said, can you guys, these are already cleaned. Can you just press them? And it cost her $80 to do all.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, sure, we'll charge you the same exact. Here's a question for you. Do you fold your dainties, your underpants?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
I just stuff them in the drawer along with socks. Socks I'll stuff into each other and then stuff into the drawer.
Yeah, no, socks get folded too.
Wow. Do you fold sweatpants?
Yeah. I own one pair of lounge pants, and those do get folded.
One pair of oh man, those get stuffed for me. I suppose I'm a stuffer. I'm a stuffer in drawers. I
hope this answered.
I don't even fold them.
I hope this answered Mark's question.
Yeah.
Back to surfers who ski instead of snowboard. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I'll appreciate a surfer who snowboards and skis. Like the person who has the skiing ability in their repertoire, because some days are just better for skiing, right? Like some days on the hill when it's iced out, or it's just, it's like dust on crust groomers, then skiing is ostensibly more fun. I've forgotten how to ski, so now I only still snowboard. But I think every surfer should be able to snowboard. I clearly agree with him there. And also, more to the point, snowboarding is way more fun than skiing. I mean, when snowboarding in POW is 20 times funner than almost anything, but especially than skiing.
I can't argue against that because I've never snowboarded to that level. All I can say is I've skied my whole life, and I've never once thought that snowboarding would be a better option for me. So when I was in high school and snowboarding was becoming popular, and my friends who also surfed, they were snowboarding, they all kind of peer pressured me into snowboarding. So I snowboarded for maybe 3 seasons then, and then went on a trip to Colorado with my dad, and my grandpa lives in Colorado, and the 3 of us were going to ski together, and I didn't want to snowboard while they were skiing. So I put skis back on, and I've never looked back. And every time I go, I have a blast on skis. And again, I'd never looked over at a snowboarder and said, I wish I was doing that instead of this, because this is super fun.
But there's days when snowboarding, I mean, most days snowboarding is funner, but there are days when you can't even touch it. Like, you can't even touch it. If there's like, even like a little foot of powder, running through trees on a snowboard beats anything you could do on skis.
Well, I'll admit, when I see people, more of that than like a half pipe or something.
No, I mean, going in the park is for kids, and I don't think that's not fun to me either.
I'll see somebody doing like a big turn that's slow mode with a ton of style, and I can see the beauty in that, and that looks like that would be incredibly fun to execute. But if it meant that I would have to forego a day of skiing, I wouldn't do it, because the day of skiing is still epic to me.
The problem herein is that snowboarding and skiing, that being on the mountain is a real luxury compared to surfing. Surfing, you could try different boards all day long if you want, because the waves are there and you're there and whatever, who cares, right? Unless you're traveling from inland to be at the beach only for a couple of days and you really, whatever. In order for, I think, you to forego a day of skiing, you'd have to be in the mountains long enough for you to think, okay, I've had my 5 days of skiing, it's totally worth it today to hop on a snowboard. But the problem is the learning curve, it's gonna take at least, I mean, the learning curve on skis and snowboards is like, it's easier to get on and slide, obviously, than paddling and catching a wave. But in order to get good at snowboarding, I think it's probably still a quicker curve than getting good at surfing, but it's not by any means quick. You need like seasons in order to become, I think, a competent snowboarder.
For somebody though who lives near the mountain and they can ski, and snowboard all the time, as often as you and I surf, I wonder if there is somebody who transitions back and forth between skiing and snowboarding given the day and the conditions. If they're equally adept at both things, and then they just.
I know all kinds of people like that. I know all kinds of mountain folk who are, they'll pick the equipment purely based on conditions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
They'll go back and forth like real professionally at both.
Because I feel another part of me that I didn't think about until Mark mentioned this or brought this call up. Another part of me feels like skiing was the first and it's more pure, and snowboarding entered from the side. And there's a part of me that feels like I'd be going to the dark side and betraying the original sport by participating in this interloping sport.
I hear you, but I think it depends on kind of how you ski. Do you ski on fat skis and all that? Like, are you on all the modern stuff?
No, mine's pretty dated. My skis have a little bit of the parabolic shape, but it was just when they were introducing the parabolics. So it's not nearly as fat as the modern ones.
I mean, that's when I see somebody skiing in like on like mid 80s kind of vintage skis and in like a good set kit, I think, oh, that person looks good, but they're definitely not having more fun than a snowboard.
Yeah. I need to update my skis.
Yeah, but don't get fast. Go or get a snowboard. Try it out.
Maybe. If we ever went together and you and your whole clan are snowboarding, maybe I would give it a shot.
Okay, that's good.
All right, we'll add that to the list for 2023 after the Hawaii house.
Yep, Hawaii house and hills together.
All right, well, hey, enjoy the New Year's Eve. I suppose we owe a huge thanks to all of our listeners, all of our callers this season. Each of those calls makes your and my lifting slightly lighter for that episode.
And puts on a smile. Like nothing like hearing from those who listen. And yeah, second, David Lees, thank you so much for listening. Without you, it'd just be us talking together, but it always does feel like a bigger conversation, which makes it fun.
Totally. We owe a huge thanks to Hannah.
We
for
do.
Her contributions this season.
The whole sign off all year and into 2023.
Totally. Of course, huge thanks to Album Surfboards, who has hosted us throughout the year. Huge thanks to our various guests who have joined us throughout the year. Huge thanks to our various sponsors. Obviously, athleticgreens.com/surf. Veyer Watches came on with us late in the season. Yeah, me too. Thank you to you guys. VeyerWatches.com, promo code SURF15. Bubba Coos for feeding all the good people throughout the season. Sunbum, of course, was with us through a lot of the year. So protecting all the people. Lots of thanks for all those.
Thank you all.
All right, Chaz. I suppose I will see you next year.
Oh, ba-da-ba.
Until then.
Bon voyage.
All right. Thank you very much.